Hey guys, I'm Dave Chesson, the creator of Kindlepreneur as well as the founder of Publisher Rocket. But today I'm here to talk to you about email services. When it comes to email services, there are a lot of things about it. What exactly do they do? They all have so many different names and terminologies out there. It's really hard for authors to figure out exactly what it is they need to use. Even more so, there are so many out there that actually have extra stuff, and let's just face it, the whole process can get confusing. So back in about 6 months ago, I decided to set up and test a whole bunch of email services. And today, I'm here to talk to you about which ones work best for authors, as well as to help you understand some of those very advanced terms, and finally get you comfortable in making the right decision for your author career. In order to do this, we're going to cover 3 sections. The first is email service terminology, what features authors really need, different levels of author services, and comparison of email services. So let's start with email terminology. Now, like I said in the introduction, the fact of the matter is that there are some key terms that every author needs to know in order to not only make the right choice in an email service, but also to make sure they employ their email service the right way to help them make more sales. The problem, though, is that each and every company uses different words to describe these things. So, we're going to give a definition of each one, as well as some of the other names they're known by. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll be able to understand each one and be able to make the right decisions. The first is email campaigns. These are the emails you craft to send to your email list at a specific time. So, this isn't a set of emails, this is just one. And I know that word campaign can be a bit confusing, because if you think about it, it kind of sounds like there's a whole bunch of things you're doing. No. It's you crafting one email and sending it to your list. So, as an example, say Bob is an author, and Bob has his email list. He crafts one email, and he does an email campaign by sending it to all of his email subscribers. One email to his subscription list. The next is automations. This is a set of emails you craft that will be sent automatically to your new subscribers, usually in a series. Now, the thing is, there are a lot of words for this. For example, drip, autoresponder, workflows. Every company out there, every email service will always use a different term, and it's a bit confusing. But ultimately, they're all the same. As an example, say for your book, you've designed 4 specific emails that you want to go at a certain time based off of when somebody signs up for your email list. The first email you have is, say, welcome to my email. Then 3 days later, you have another email that talks about something else. 5 days later, you may introduce a new book. And 7 days later, you're asking for a review. So in this case, say Mike is a new subscriber to your list. On the first day, he's going to get immediately that first email. Then he's going to get the next email on the 3rd day. And then 5 days from when he signed up, he's going to get the next email. And so on. As you can see, this is an automation, and it's very important because it's a great way to introduce your readers to what it is you want so that you can create that great narrative. Next is forms. These are the things that collect the email addresses of a potential subscriber. You may recognize them as something on a website like this, or a pop-up box like this. But either way, forms are there to help take the email address and put it into your email list. Next is landing pages. A web page you can create that doesn't require your owning a website. This page is where you can put a form to collect emails. Now, some authors, even when they have a website, love to use landing pages because there's some really awesome templates that you can create. It can make you look really professional, and also you might want to create a landing page for one book and a landing page for a different book. However, though, if you don't have a website, then landing pages are going to be really important, and we're going to cover that later. Next is tagging. Now, this is a little bit advanced, but I think it's very important for authors to understand, especially when you start having multiple books or you want to get really advanced in your email list. Basically, tagging is notes on individual subscribers. They can tell you how they joined your list, what they've clicked on, etc. Like I said, you can get really advanced with these, and the more information you have about the people that have signed up, the better you can serve them. One example is, say for example, you write in different genres. you might want to tag the person who signs up for your romance, and you might want to tag the person who signs up for your fantasy. That way, you only send fantasy emails to the people with the fantasy tag, and you send romance emails to those with the romance tag. So just an understanding of tagging and how it can help, but again, it's not necessary, but it is a really good advanced tactic. Next is opt-in gifts. This is an incentive you can offer to convince readers to join your email. This could be a free book, PDF, access to videos or courses, or more. Some examples of those are, as you can see, I've made a mock-up of one of my free books, a mock-up of a PDF, another PDF, and even more so. There are all these ways to make your opt-in gift look good. Now, there are other names these go by, such as reader magnets. I can't think of all the others, but there's so many different. Basically, it's something that you have that you're going to give them. A short story, a book, an ebook, a PDF, a course. All of those comprise of what you're offering if they sign up. Now, that being said, there are some authors that don't believe an opt-in gift is a good thing. They say that if somebody really wants to join, they're going to join anyways, and you want those kind of email subscribers. And that's true to an extent. However, though, if you create your opt-in gift to be something that's beneficial to the subscriber, you've now added value to them being a part of your email. And I think that's a very powerful statement, and it's a great situation. So opt-in gifts are another term that we use. Okay, so we just went over the different terminology and some of the other names that are out there. So keep those in mind as we move through. In the next thing, I want to talk about features that authors actually need, okay? Because when you start looking at these email services, you're going to see a lot of things, okay? You're going to see all these new features and things, and it can get overwhelming. So I just want to break it down to the things that are most important for authors. And if you have a website, then the things that you should really care about is email campaigns, automations, and forms. Now, sometimes you can use third parties like Opt-in Monster or Opt-in Ninja or Sumo, all these others that will help create cool forms, but the key is you do need a way to collect them, so keep that in mind. Now, if you don't have a website, those three things are very important. But the fourth one is, like we talked about earlier, is you really need a landing page because after all, you don't have a website. Now, there are, again, some third-party out there, like BookFunnels is amazing, and I'm sure that you guys have heard a lot about them, but they can serve as a landing page to deliver your book. So keep that in mind. So now that we've talked about the features, let's talk about the things you should consider when you're looking for the right email service, okay? First is, do they have a legitimate free plan? Because a lot of these email services will give a good enough free plan that it gives you everything you need in order to start building your list without you having to pay. This can be the difference of paying 20 or 30 bucks a month or not having to pay at all. Number 2, costs once on a paid plan. Once you hit a certain threshold, say you have a certain number of subscribers on your list, you're going to have to start paying. And some of these will actually charge you pretty significantly, while others stay pretty low. So we want to know how much they're going to cost when you finally move into that tier. Number 3, how's their deliverability? Not all email services are created equal. As a matter of fact, some of the email services have what we call, we'll just call it a likability score with Google or email software, like your Gmail or whatever. Have you noticed that sometimes you'll get an email from somebody and go straight to your spam or promotions? Well, that's because either that person isn't very good at email or because the email service is kind of just deemed as spam. And so therefore the deliverability rates can be low. So some email services are able to deliver your emails better than others. So understanding deliverability rate is very important because let's face it, if you're going to be paying for your emails, you don't want them going to spam or promotions, right? And number 4, do they have the adequate features? We talked about some of the features in the previously 2 slides. And I would say that a mass majority will be able to give you the necessary features. Some have even more in case you grow, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So, different email service levels. This is something I kind of make up. There's nothing online that tells you that, these email services are part of this one or this one, but I think that this gives you a really clear indication of why some emails are more expensive and some are more advanced and others are good enough, okay? So I like to call them into solopreneur, business, and corporation. Solopreneur is basically if you are a one-person show. You are an author, maybe you have one or two people or so that kind of work with you, but usually it means that your business your author business, shall we say, isn't so advanced that you don't need these other more expensive services. Now in business, you have a bunch of people and you also have more products, and now you want, shall we say, a email service that's a little more robust. And then finally you get into corporations. I mean, we're talking like to sign up for these emails, you're going to need a team of people to help you with it. So I've sort of tried to break down a list of a lot of the emails that fit into these three so as to help you understand and maybe think about which one is best for you. In Solopreneur, we have MailChimp, MailerLite, Author.emails, MadMimi, Aweber, GetResponse, SendInBlue, SendPulse, and Email Octopus. Now, there are a lot more. I mean, we're talking like 30, 40, 50. There's more every day. There's SendFox, which is a new one. They're just popping up. And they fit into here because they give you the basic features, and usually they're cheaper, as you can see at the bottom of that slide, than what would be in the next tier and the next tier. Okay? Moving over, we have ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, Drip, Constant Contact, and Campaign Monitor. These can do a lot more and are, shall we say, maybe better deliverability, better quality, but they're also more expensive. And I would say for a lot of authors, these will end up being overkill for you. It's interesting to note, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I use one in the Solopreneur for my author emails, but I use ConvertKit for Kindlepreneur. But we have so much going on. There's 17 people on my team, and on top of that too, we also sell software and other things. So I need a more robust, capable email. And one could even argue that I could maybe even move up to ActiveCampaign. But the point though is that it's more expensive than it would be if I was trying to do it in the Solopreneur category. And finally, we have corporations. This is where you get Infusionsoft, which a lot of people jokingly call it Confusionsoft, because yeah, it's ridiculous. HubSpot and Salesforce, and there are a couple more out there. But these are hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month, and then some. And you probably need to hire somebody to run this alone on your system. Okay, so now that we know the three different levels, let's go ahead and move into comparing the email services. Now, this is where we're going to take a culmination of everything we learned. This is going to include the definitions. This is going to talk about those three levels and also the things that are most important for you as an author. And the four that we're going to compare is MailerLite, MailChimp, MadMimi, and ConvertKit. Now, MailerLite, MailChimp, and MadMimi are a part of the Solopreneur package, and I'd say ConvertKit is a part of the business package that we looked at before. I'm including ConvertKit in this because ConvertKit is a very capable and well-loved email service. There's a lot of authors who have, and we'll talk about this a bit later, but there are a lot of authors who believe that, hey, I want to grow into this kind of business, so I want to start with one from the get-go, which is why I've included it in here. Now, there are a lot of email services, as you saw in the previous slide, and I didn't test them all, but what I did do is that I looked through a lot of the different polls that people had posted, as well as some of the author lists, and these were some of the most talked about email options that were out there. This isn't all inclusive, but this is definitely some of the more popular and well loved. So we're going to take a look at those. And in order to create this comparison, I actually used every one of these and a whole bunch more to try to test. Including from this list, I also used GetResponse, I used ActiveCampaign, I used SendFox, Author.emails, and a couple of more. But these were the ones that I think were the best to give you an understanding and to help compare apples to apples. Now, in order to compare these, we're going to look at 5 things. The first is their free plan. Second is cost after the free plan. Next, we'll look at deliverability. Then we'll look at the pros and cons of each. And finally, we'll get into my general recommendation. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the free plan. Now, as you can see on the left here, we have MailerLite, MailChimp, MadMimi, and ConvertKit. At the top, we have number of subscribers, emails, and features. So what this means is that you are allowed to have a free plan so long as you have this many subscribers or less. Once you go over that number of subscribers, you're going to have to start paying. Same thing with the emails, is that these are the total number of emails per month that you can send. Now, this is your email campaigns and your autoresponder/automations. So all of those combined come to create this number. Now, I'll tell you that there's a mass majority, like 99.999% of you will never go over that email threshold, but I believe in you to be able to go over that number of subscriber threshold at some point. Okay, and then features are, does the free plan actually include the necessary features? As you're going to see when we talk through these, some of them don't. As a matter of fact, in order to get all the features you need, you're going to have to pay for it anyways. So I don't really like it when companies do that. It's kind of like, oh, cool, you have a free plan. I'm going to join this. And then you do, and you find out, wow, I can't do anything with this, and I just wasted a day. So let's go ahead and look at that. So MailerLite, you're allowed 1,000 subscribers, 12,000 emails, and it has all of the features. So that's really cool. MailChimp also has the same thing, except that they allow 2,000 subscribers, 10,000 emails, and all the features. Mad Mimi does not have a free plan. So if you end up deciding that you want to go with Mad Mimi, then you have to understand you're going to be paying from day one. And ConvertKit just recently created a free plan, and it allows 1,000 subscribers and unlimited emails, but they don't offer all the features that you would need in order to get the benefit from your email service. And one of the things that they don't offer is automations. So you can collect email and you can send email to your email list, but you can't automatically send them. If you intend not to do an automation, then maybe that's a good viable option for you as well. All right, now let's look at what happens when you move from the free plan to the paid plan. MailerLite seems to be very cheap. At 1,000 email subscribers, you're looking at $10 a month, then 15, then 30, and then 50, based off of, and again, that's the number of subscribers at the top. MailChimp, on the other hand, actually has a pretty big jump. It goes up to $20 on 1,000 subscribers, 30, 50, and 75. One thing to note with MailChimp, and I'm not a fan that they did this, is that you actually, when you move into the paid plan, they actually start at 500. But do remember that at 2,000 is when your paid plan, or when you have to move from free to paid. So they will promote a much smaller number, and I think it's either $10 or $5. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they don't tell you that's for 500. So a lot of authors, when they move from 2,000 subscribers, they're like, sweet, $5, this is great. No, $30, because you're moving from the 2,000 limit, and oh, by the way, you're paying at 2,000, even though they say it's $5. So it's a bit confusing, and it's caused a lot of authors to get a bit mad when that happens. Mad Mimi is also very cheap. Again, you're looking at $12, $16, $27, and $42. In certain cases, it's more expensive than MailerLite, and then at some point it becomes cheaper. So that's not a bad option. And then ConvertKit, which again is still under that business level that we talked about, is much more expensive, like 2 to 3 times more expensive. So $29, $49, $79, and $119. So you're looking at a difference of paying, if you have 10,000 subscribers, between MailerLite, that's $50. With ConvertKit, that's $119. That can add up, and that's monthly. So, all right, now let's look at deliverability. This is a bit hard to do. There are a lot of authors that have speculation. I've heard people that scream that, even ConvertKit's deliverability is bad compared to so-and-so's. And one person had one story. It's really hard to get a feel for it. One thing that I will say, though, is that if you ever switch from one email service to another, do understand that your deliverability rate is going to immediately drop for at least the first month or two. And the reason for this is that when you go to start sending email from a different server, which, that's the email system, the server, all of a sudden those people's mail, like Mail or Gmail or Yahoo or whatever, is like, wait a second, this email came from somewhere else. And this can cause it to immediately put things into spam. It will take care of itself over time. But do understand that when you do switch, you're going to have that first month of shock, and I think that's a lot of reason why there's a lot of people that would say, I switched, and I was like, oh, this is terrible, and I read, there's a lot of things out it. So one of the ways I was able to try to create, shall we say, a test is that there's a website, and I put the link at the bottom here, called emailtooltester.com, and they proclaim that they use some kind of system to test the deliverability rate, and they mark it. There's 2 problems with this, okay? Their results vary wildly. The scores that I put here were actually in September, this month right here that they just did it. So it's the most recent. And interesting enough, ConvertKit is one of their top ones. But I think it was 3 months ago when they did their test, ConvertKit was in the middle. And MailChimp was actually at the bottom, and it just jumps. It's really weird. But at least this gives us some kind of numerical ability to look at them. And notice that MailerLite is 90, MailChimp is 91. MadMimi, they don't test, so that's why it's blank. And ConvertKit is 95. The average of I think it's 20 or 25 email services that they do this for, the average is 85.2. So obviously these three are above average and therefore sufficient. Now, I do want to take a second and talk a bit more about MailerLite. Back in the day, they had this, well, as you saw, they have the free plan. And that free plan, they allowed anybody to come in. And when they did that, a lot of spammers joined them. And this actually caused their deliverability rate to drop like a rock. Now, when you go to join MailerLite, they will actually make you apply and they'll check and they'll verify that you're a legitimate human being is kind of the best way to put it. And that way, that's helped them to cut a lot of the spammers, which has helped their deliverability score improve dramatically over the past couple years. So there are a lot of people that hated the deliverability, but there are people who are benefiting from it now. My take, having used all of these, I didn't see a clear difference between MailChimp, MailerLite, or MadMimi. I do think ConvertKit was the better deliverability, but that was just my personal experience. All right. So let's go ahead and move into the pros and cons of each of them. So starting with MailerLite, the pro is they have a great free account. They're less expensive when you start paying for it. They have all the adequate features, and they include tagging, which again, when you want to start advancing, being able to tag and write notes about the people or have it automatically put them in is going to be really cool. It's a great feature. The cons, though, is that there's only one list. And what I mean by that is that when somebody joins your email list, they go into the one list and there's just one list. You can use tags to kind of separate the list. Remember the example I talked about where if you are writing and you have one book, say it's, book A, and then you have book B. And you want whoever signs up for book A to be in this list and whoever signs up for book B to be in this list. That's cool, but you can't do it on MailerLite. Instead, they're all in one list, but you're going to have to use tagging to separate them, okay? It's very doable, but when it comes to my initial thought, I would prefer to have lists. It just makes me feel better. But again, tagging does that for you, but it is one problem that I think exists. Next is you have to apply to use. We talked about this with usability, and it can be a bit jarring. As a matter of fact, a lot of authors get really mad or perturbed at how much information they have to pass in order to use the free service. However, though, I do say that while that is an ask that you have to do all these steps, it is really awesome to know that they're really cutting out on the spammers, and this will really help you with your deliverability rate. And I think their deliverability rate will only increase over time because of it. All right. We talked about it, deliverability. It was one of the lower ones on the list, but it was still above average. However, though, there were a lot of authors who have seen bad deliverability in the past, so it definitely has that stigma. And finally, user experience. I think out of them all, I'm going to give it a lower grade on user experience. I thought some of the things weren't as intuitive as it should be. Not that it's complicated, but that, again, if I'm comparing apples to apples here, I'm going to give it the lower the experience. Okay, now let's go ahead and move over to MailChimp. MailChimp. Again, great free plan, just like MailerLite. However, though, it's also the most popular. It's the one that people have used for years. There are more authors who have it, so they talk about it. There's more videos on YouTube to kind of watch things and see how people do stuff. So there's more information out there. They're also very easy to use. I think they've got a great user experience. And they have a lot more templates for your landing pages, for your forms, for even email templates. So there's a lot of great stuff that comes from it. However, though, I'm going to kind of blanket the cons by saying that I am not a fan of the MailChimp company, nor am I a fan of their decisions as a business, okay? The first thing that I want to say is that they do this problem where they keep raising the price and authors are getting pretty perturbed about it and they're not adding anything to it. So all of a sudden you have to pay $5 more a month. Okay, when you're paying $15, now you pay $20. And that's it. It's not like you got something out of it. The other thing, which really made a lot of authors mad and made a lot of them move out of MailChimp to something else, is that they have, if somebody unsubscribes from your list, MailChimp doesn't take that away. So say, for example, you have 4,000 email subscribers, right? And that means because it's 4,000, you're paying, we'll say 30. I can't remember off the top of my head, $30 a month. And then somebody unsubscribes. Doesn't matter. You still have 4,000 under their mark, and you're paying for the 4,000, even though you actually have 3,999. Now, this can actually become a bigger number because as you have unsubscribers, which happen, you may have 1,000 unsubscribers over the course of your list, and now you're paying for those 1,000 that are not there. I think that stinks. That's probably the nicest way I can put it. I really don't like that they do that. I think that's terrible. And there are a lot of authors who have written some very great thoughts on it. And so again, that's something to definitely consider. All right, we talked about the history of raising prices and no new features. The other thing is that they're not very reliable. There's a lot of issues that they've had with their systems and have caused a lot of authors to move out of it because of it. They're also more expensive. They do that trick, that tricky pricing that we talked about, $500, but actually $2,000. And at the same time, too, they're more expensive than, say, MailerLite or Mad Mimi significantly. And finally, one thing that I really don't like is they're a real pain to switch. They kind of make it super hard for you to move from one to the other. It's like you're going to have to do all these things and then some. So yeah, it's sort of like once they get their claws in you, they kind of keep you. So that's MailerLite. Let's move to Mad Mimi. The pros are they have great support. Phenomenal people. I asked a whole bunch of questions. They answered my questions. I was really happy with that. They're one of the cheapest, especially as you get into the 2, 3, 4, 5,000 subscriber range. They also have drag and drop capability for their automations. So this is where you can drag components and drop it in. I think that's a very intuitive system, so I think it's a very good user experience. The cons, though, is they have no free plan. So from day one, even if you have just 5 subscribers, you're still going to have to pay for them. They also don't allow you to segment your list, which is a way, it's kind of like automation, or excuse me, it's like tagging and then breaking out your list. I think that's a feature that's pretty significant, and I'm not a fan that they don't have that. And also, too, they're one of the hardest to remove someone from your list. And you may be saying, why would I do that? Well, sometimes people don't hit the unsubscribe button, and they instead ask you, can you please remove me from this list? And hopefully they say it nicely. And when they do that, it's important for you to remove them. Well, the process is actually pretty painful, so you're going to have to use that great support to help you to get people off of your list. But that's a small thing. I mean, once you learn it, you learn it. But it's just weird that that one thing requires so many steps and then some. And I had to keep looking up the process to do it each time I had to do it. All right, and finally, we're going to move into ConvertKit. Now, ConvertKit is powerful. Out of the 4, it's by far the most powerful. It can do the most. It also has the best deliverability of the ones that we've looked at. It has by far the best page building, so you can actually build pages instead of just using their template. You can change some things. They have great templates as well. And I would say that their support was better than Mad Mimi's, but definitely better than everybody else's. So, but the problem about it is that you're going to pay for that. Yeah, as you saw, we were looking at $50 a month for 5,000 on MailerLite, $112 for that on ConvertKit. And again, they're kind of like MailerLite as well, where you only have one list, okay? The others, you could separate people into lists. MailerLite and ConvertKit, you can't do that, and that's kind of a bit of a pain. So, those are the pros and cons of ConvertKit. All right. Now, you may be saying to yourself, Dave, you didn't actually show me the use of it. And the truth is that it's kind of, when I look at all of these different mail services, the truth is that, yeah, there's a bit of aesthetics. But I think what's most important for authors is that when they choose the one that fits their need, because it has features, the cost, the free plan, deliverability, these things are good enough. Learning your system is it. Whether it looks pretty or not, I really wouldn't want to use that into my calculus of which one I should choose. However, though, if you would like to get into the nitty-gritty of either of these four, I wrote a full-blown review discussing each one of the features with images and uses, and you can find that here on these URLs. You can dig in and you can see what it looks like when you're doing an automation or how to set up the email campaign, okay? All right, so let's get down to my final recommendation. The question here is, which one should you use? Was it Mad Mimi or was it, MailerLite? And my take on it, based on all the things we saw, is that for 99.9% of authors, I think MailerLite is more than sufficient to do everything, and I think it beats out MailChimp and Mad Mimi. First off, it has by far the best free plan, okay? You get all the features and up to 1,000 subscribers. They don't take anything out. You're not missing out because you're on free plan. You only have to start paying them when you cross the threshold, which is very important. And if you're looking at any email services beyond what we're talking about here, making sure that they have a free plan that gives you all those features is a very crucial thing because it may take you a while to get up to 1,000 email subscribers. So don't pay for that as you get up there, okay? Also, I think the pricing is one of the best after you move into it. So you're not locking yourself into a higher cost like you do with MailChimp. And I think, too, that they're sufficient to allow your business to grow. It's not like some of these services, like SendFox is the popular one right now. I don't think SendFox is, right now as we speak, has enough to allow you to grow over time. Maybe they'll catch up and these things change. But the fact of the matter is MailerLite gives you everything you need. It's the lowest cost and you get a free plan. I think that's incredible. I use these for all of my books. After all the tests, all the ones that I list, every one of my books in nonfiction and fiction have a separate free account. And then for those that are over 1,000, they pay, but it's super low. For what I do with books, I don't need anything more. So that works for me. However, though, ConvertKit, there's a very strong argument for ConvertKit. If you're an author who's saying to themselves, well, I'm going to sell courses, or I'm going to sell packages or PDFs, or I'm really taking this seriously, or I'm running a publishing company, okay, and I have multiple authors that I'm working. I think that paying for ConvertKit is a great move, okay? I think that with the power and the capabilities, this is the one that you would have to grow into later. Some authors might want to start off with ConvertKit because it stinks to learn one system and then, a couple of years later have to learn a whole new system. So if you intend to move into that, or you already are, then I think it's best to go with something a bit more powerful and to go with ConvertKit. I personally use it for Kindlepreneur. We have over 105,000 email subscribers. We work with free courses from my amscourse.com as well as Publisher Rocket. We take in all the input there. We use taggings. We have automation systems. And I need extra components, if this, then that kind of thing. It's very advanced. But ConvertKit can do it. Another one that I would also recommend too that you might want to look at is ActiveCampaign. I've been very impressed with them, and sometimes I think about switching over to ActiveCampaign, but there are definitely some pros and cons there, and right now I've just been really happy with ConvertKit, but I'm starting to move to a bit more advanced, so I'm thinking about it. So all in all, I think that MailerLite is probably the best one for about 99% of you. And then ConvertKit is maybe the one based off of what your aspirations are or what you're currently doing, which should be beyond writing. Or perhaps you just want the better one and the price isn't a bad thing, then I would choose ConvertKit. All right. Now, finally, one of the things that I've set up too is I have a free course, absolutely free, free MailerLite course. So if you decide that you want to use MailerLite, be sure to go to that link down there, which is kindlepreneur.com, MailerLite for authors. Okay. Or you can also just Google it and it should come up. This course was designed to help you understand how to set up your automation systems, to understand your dashboard, and to break it down. MailerLite has a lot of great tutorials. I think there's like 25 videos, but it can feel overwhelming, and most of it is not necessary for what we do as authors. So I created this course to help you understand what it is you need to know, but I also give you links to things if you want to take a more advanced step as you go. Also, too, if you ever do choose to get MailerLite, I have a affiliate link there. It goes towards my coffee fund. It does not cost you any extra, but it is there as an option. Anyways, thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope that you guys take action on email. Whether you use any of the ones we talked about or something different, I will always say that email is one of the most powerful tools for authors because it gives you an opportunity to actively reach out to your readers. That makes your marketing capability so much easier. All right. Again, thank you for being here, and I hope this helps. Cheers.